Natural resources serve as a strong economic base for sustainable development in many African countries. Oil reserves in Africa have always been one of the key elements which support economies. About 7.2 million barrels of oil are being produced in the African continent daily. The total quantity of the oil that Africa currently has as reserves in 2023 is estimated at 125.5 billion barrels. The continent is home to 5 of the top 30 oil-producing countries of the world, and you will discover more as you watch this video. Africa currently produces about 7% of the world's gas from a range of basins. In less than 20 years after 1956, the western part of Africa became known for having some of the world's largest oil and gas reserves. Make sure you are subscribed to the new tourist channel before we start looking at the 15 African countries with the largest oil reserves in 2023. Let us begin from the bottom of the list. 15. The Democratic Republic of Congo, 1 billion barrels. Oil and gas discoveries in the eastern part of the Democratic Republic of Congo make the country the second largest in terms of crude oil reserves in Central and Southern Africa. There are currently 1 billion barrels of oil held as a reserve in the DRC. Oil production in this country is mostly limited to the coastal basin, yielding about 25,000 barrels per day for offshore production, all of which has been exported. 14. Niger, 1 billion barrels. Niger has significant geological potential, but to date, this has been largely underexplored. However, the country currently has about 1 billion barrels of oil in stock. The oil and gas extracted from the Agadem field are processed at the Soares refinery, and products such as gasoline, diesel, and liquefied natural gas are kept primarily for consumption. The development of Niger's nascent oil and gas industry is a key stated objective of the government of Niger. It is expected to represent approximately 24% of GDP by 2025. 13. Cameroon, 1.5 billion barrels. The Cameroonian economy benefits a lot from its oil and gas reserves, looking at what it adds to its gross domestic product. In Cameroon, oil is mostly found in the Rio del Rey basin close to the Nigerian border, extending to the south of Douala, the capital of the littoral region. Confirmed findings of oil reserves in the Chad Basin and the Bakassi Peninsula remain unexploited. The country has plans to refurbish the national oil refinery Sonora. Due to the high level of refined petroleum imports, there have been calls to build a second refinery. A second refinery would represent a significant business opportunity for U.S. firms. 12. Tunisia, 1.8 billion barrels. The Republic of Tunisia is an established oil producer with a successful history of production operations for many years now. There is a total of 1.8 billion barrels of oil currently held in Tunisia's reserves. The region of El Borma is a hub for oil production in Tunisia, and the government has highly invested there for better exploitation. The only refinery in the country is in Bizerte and is managed by the Tunisian Company of the Refining Industries. 11. Chad, 1.9 billion barrels. Most of Chad's crude oil comes from the Dowa Basin located in the southernmost part of the country. This is where oil and gas were discovered in the early 70s in Chad. Chad produces about 100 barrels of oil daily, and presently, a total of 1.9 billion barrels of oil is being held in reserve there. Petroleum is Chad's primary source of public revenue, and about 90% of the oil produced in this country is exported. If you are still watching this video, then you are enjoying it. Please like this video and share it with your friends and family before we continue. 10. Equatorial Guinea, 2 billion barrels. Equatorial Guinea is a country where oil is greatly consumed, but at the same time, there is a reasonable quantity of it held in the country's reserves. Equatorial Guinea has 2 billion barrels of oil in stock. The main oil company in Equatorial Guinea is called Mobile Equatorial Guinea Incorporation. It has about 70,000 employees from within and outside of the country. 9. Ghana, 2.3 billion barrels. Ghana's oil and gas prospects are very significant to her economy. Ghana has about 2.3 billion barrels of oil in 2023. Some of the major oil and gas activities in Ghana are conducted by international oil companies such as Tullow Ghana, Vital Cosmos Energy, and Aker Energy. Recent discoveries appear to indicate oil and gas resource stretches across Cape Three Points in the west and Kita in the east. The Volta Basin is also believed to hold oil and gas reserves onshore. 8. Gabon, 3 billion barrels. Gabon is among the top 5 oil producers in sub-Saharan Africa and has 3 billion barrels of proven crude oil reserves. The country only consumes a small fraction of its oil production, and most of it is exported to foreign markets. Crude oil accounts for about 96% of Gabon's exports to the United States of America. Being the 8th largest producer of oil and gas in Africa, she offers a great opportunity for reserves to get exploited soon. 7. Congo Brazzaville, 3 billion barrels. The Republic of Congo, commonly known as Congo Brazzaville, possesses substantial reserves of oil worth 3 billion barrels. Congo has one oil refinery in the coastal city of Pointe-Noire, which fulfills about 65% of the country's domestic needs. The Congolese government is in the process of upgrading the refinery to increase its production capacity, and there is continual talk of building an additional oil refinery, although concrete plans are yet to be announced. 6. Egypt, 5 billion barrels. A great amount of Egypt's oil and petroleum comes from the Morgan, Ramadan, and July fields situated around the Gulf of Suez. Egypt has oil reserves of approximately 5 billion barrels in 2023. On December 2022, the Egyptian Ministry of Petroleum recently announced the discovery of a new large oil field around the Nargis block in the eastern Mediterranean. Evaluations are still underway to determine the field's exact reserves. 5. Sudan, 7 billion barrels. The Republic of Sudan currently holds 7 billion barrels of oil in its reserves. The main area of oil production to date in Sudan is the Muglad Basin, which stretches down across the midsection of the country. Sudapet is the main company that runs oil affairs in Sudan alongside domestic and some foreign oil corporations. Although Sudan has a large oil reserve, experts still believe that more than 90% of the oil and gas reserves of the country are still untapped. 4. Angola, 9 billion barrels. Angola holds abundant oil and gas resources, and there are approximately 9 billion barrels of it currently held in reserves. The Angolan petroleum industry is key and accounts for almost 75% of the country's revenues. However, just like many other African countries, Angola has not yet unleashed the full potential of its hydrocarbon sector. The Senangol Group owns and controls oil-related activities in Angola. The group has more than 13,000 employees and its headquarters is located in Luanda, the capital city of Angola. 3. Algeria, 14 billion barrels. Algeria is a large oil producer in Africa, with about 14 billion barrels of proven oil reserves in 2023. In terms of market size, Algeria has the 10th largest proven oil reserves, and it is also the 6th largest gas exporter in the world. According to Algeria's national oil company, Sonatrach, about 2/3 of the Algerian territory remains unexplored, with an estimated 100 undeveloped oil discoveries. 2. Nigeria, 36.9 billion barrels. Nigeria is a widely spoken about country where issues concerning oil on the African continent are concerned. The country currently has some 36.9 billion barrels of oil in reserves this year. Nigeria has a total of 159 oil fields and 1,481 wells in operation, according to the Department of Petroleum Resources. The Nigerian oil sector contributes to about 10% of the gross domestic product of the nation. The hub for oil production in Nigeria is the Akwa Ibom state, which contributes the highest to the amount of oil exported to other countries. 1. Libya, 48.5 billion barrels. Libya owns the largest oil reserves in Africa worth 48.5 billion barrels. Some of the most popular grades of crude oil produced in Libya include Brega, S-Cider, and Sharara. The ongoing Russia-Ukraine crisis is also affecting the economy of Libya and other African countries. However, the future still seems promising as the Libyan government seeks ways to generate enormous wealth by exploring oil reserves. The Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries affirms that substantial revenues from the oil sector have made Libya one of the countries with the highest GDP per capita in Africa. The continent of Africa is blessed with so many resources like oil and gas, gold, and other precious minerals. However, some of the governments in place have been mismanaging the proceeds from the exploitation of these resources, while others are carefully using the proceeds for the betterment of their people. How can we explain the fact that the DRC has abundant resources, but about 26 million people there are food insecure, with 5.4 million among them on the verge of famine? Also, there are external forces constantly instigating wars and instability in some regions of Africa to exploit the resources with the help of some unscrupulous leaders. Africans must wake up now. What do you think about the oil and gas situation in your country? Leave your thoughts about the 15 African countries with the largest oil reserves in the comment below. Also, if you haven't liked the video, please do, and share it with your friends so that the new tourist community can grow. Before we take leave of you, subscribe to the New Tourist channel to join our community and turn on the notifications so that you don't miss any of our videos. Thank you for watching and see you in our next video.